therapist Kristen Jacobson.
Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the anxiety therapist, and I'm wondering if any of you have found yourself stuck in a toxic cycle. And I want to talk a little bit about the psychological pattern that might be behind that. So we have the new year upon us. I think this is a time of reflection for a lot of people. You're kind of looking at certain habits or patterns or relationships from the past year and just kind of seeing what needs to be changed, right? And so a lot of times we can find ourselves stuck in a situation where the rewards are inconsistent, but we can't really seem to walk away. So maybe it's a boss who occasionally praises your hard work, but then most of the time leaves you feeling invisible or undervalued. Or maybe it's the enjoyment of checking your phone to see if your recent post got any likes or comments. If so, then you've experienced the powerful grip of what's called intermittent reinforcement. It's also known as variable reinforcement. And this is a psychological phenomenon that keeps both humans and animals, that just shows how prevalent it is, hooked far more effectively than consistent rewards could. So in this video, I'm going to dig into what intermittent reinforcement is, why it's so effective at driving behavior, and how it shows up in your life in various ways. And I'll also share a recent example from a client who described this exact experience at work and why recognizing it is an important first step toward making changes. So, what is intermittent reinforcement and why does it work so well? Well, this happens when rewards are given sporadically and unpredictably instead of on a consistent schedule. So think of it like a slot machine. Every now and then you win big, but most of the time you lose, right? But that occasional win keeps you pulling the lever. I recently took a trip to Vegas with my mom, and I was acutely aware of this trap while I was there in the casino. So intermittent reinforcement was first studied by psychologist B.F. Skinner, and he found that animals in experiments were a lot more motivated to perform a behavior when rewards were given intermittently rather than consistently. And it's because this unpredictability creates anticipation and excitement, and this keeps us coming back for more. So from an evolutionary perspective, our brains are wired to seek out rewards, but dopamine, that feel-good brain chemical, isn't just released when we get the reward, it's actually released in anticipation of it as well. And so that's why the possibility of a reward can sometimes feel even more thrilling than the reward itself. So let's talk about how intermittent reinforcement shows up in relationships. If you're in an abusive or toxic relationship, your partner might provide these occasional moments of affection or praise or even love bombing between periods of criticism, manipulation, gaslighting, etc. But those rare moments of kindness create that hope and keep you invested in the relationship, because in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, maybe things will change or maybe next time will be different. But because the rewards are so unpredictable, it becomes incredibly difficult to walk away, even when logically you can recognize that the harm far outweighs the good. So you're constantly anticipating the next good moment, so you're feeling that rush of dopamine again. Let's talk about intermittent reinforcement in the workplace, and we'll use my client's experience. Obviously, some details have been changed to preserve confidentiality, but I had a client recently tell me about his job and how it kind of feels like an emotional roller coaster. And most days he feels underappreciated and overlooked, despite him working long hours and delivering really great results. But then every now and then his colleagues or his superiors will recognize and praise his hard work and contributions. So those small, occasional moments of validation keep him hooked. He's currently in the midst of pursuing a potential new job opportunity, but he's having a hard time leaving because it's, again, that question of what if things get better? What if next week they finally notice all my effort? What if I do get that promotion? The intermittent reinforcement at his current job is familiar and encouraging, and this trumps the unknown and uncertainty of this new role he's applying for. So in turn, what could happen is that this self-doubt could lead to self-sabotage. And this is a classic example of intermittent reinforcement at play. It's the hope of occasional reward that keeps people stuck in jobs, relationships, etc., that are otherwise draining and unfulfilling. As I mentioned, social media can also hook us in with that intermittent reinforcement. So if you've ever posted a photo or shared a thought and then, kept checking your phone to see if you got any likes or comments, then that's intermittent reinforcement, right? You occasionally get a burst of attention and it feels great, but often you check and nothing has changed, right? So these social media platforms are really built on intermittent reinforcement. The algorithm isn't designed to show your content consistently to all of your followers. It's designed to make you keep checking and scrolling and coming back for more. And every notification, every like, every comment is a tiny hit of dopamine. And because they're unpredictable, it makes it even more addictive. So now I want to talk about how to recognize and free yourself from intermittent reinforcement. So first is to notice the pattern. Ask yourself, are the rewards you're receiving consistent, or do they feel more random and unpredictable? 2, you want to evaluate the cost. So are you giving more energy, time, or emotional investment than what you're receiving in return? Number 3 is to set boundaries. So in relationships, workplaces, or even online spaces, it's really crucial to set limits on what you'll tolerate or what you'll accept in terms of treatment. You don't want to chase the what ifs. So pay attention to what's happening right now in the present moment rather than what might happen in the future, right? Because then we bring in that anticipation. And finally, it can help to talk to someone. So talking to a therapist can really help you recognize these patterns that might be more subconscious. And then once we recognize those, we can build healthier habits. So I want to make it clear that intermittent reinforcement isn't inherently bad. It's also what makes surprises and spontaneous moments and unexpected rewards so delightful in the moment. But when it's keeping you stuck in cycles of anxiety or self-doubt or in an unhealthy relationship, then it's really time to take a closer look at the role that it plays. And like I said, the first step is just recognizing the pattern. And then from there, you can start making choices that really prioritize your well-being. So I hope this video was helpful. I'd love to hear about your examples of how intermittent reinforcement has shown up in your lives. And I will see y'all next week.